Part C asks us to sketch the curve y is equal to x squared plus 3 absolute value of x all over absolute value of x take 1. Now, it's useful to notice here that this x squared can also be written as the absolute value of x squared because x squared is always positive, so we can take its absolute value and nothing happens. So it's the same as this curve. So this is just the replacing. All we've done now is replace x with the absolute value of x. And we know what type of transformation this is. This is a reflection this is a reflection of half of the graph, of the positive x half, about the y-axis. What do I mean? It means that if my graph, say, looked something like this, then only this part of the graph here is going to get reflected, and it's going to become like that, and this part we're going to ignore it. So, how does this work for our graph? So this is the original graph that we had. What are we going to do? Well, everything that is in the positive x part of the graph we are going to keep, and everything that is not we are going to do away with. So let's look at the positive x part first. So I'm going to change color. I'm going to change to green again. This is in the positive x part, so I keep this. Yep. This is also in the positive x part, so I keep this. Sorry, it's a little hard to draw. But all of this stuff in the negative x part, I just do not pay any heed to it whatsoever. So I can completely get rid of all of this from the asymptote asymptote goes, as does the graph in the negative x part, and of course as a result all of our turning points as well. All of our points, sorry, not just turning points. Now, what does our asymptote become? Well, our asymptote also gets flipped in the y-axis. So we're going to see this going up like that in a perfectly symmetrical way. Ideally it should be. I'm not sure if I've quite done it right here. We're also going to see at x equals to -1 now another asymptote analogous to the one at x equals to 1. So we now see them on both sides of the y-axis. So we can afford to write those in. This is now, this is x equals to -1. My pen's a bit thick. And now the equation of this one, well, to work that out, originally we had y is equal to x plus 4. And all we've done is we've replaced x with the modulus of x. So that remains exactly the same as well. Y is equal to modulus of x plus 4. Now, let's go back to drawing our graph. All we have to do is look at what we've got in the positive x half of the graph and just reflect it about the y-axis. So this comes down here as such, a perfect reflection. And this part here is also reflected exactly like we would see it. So again, we will have a turning point at, instead of 3 now, it'll be -3. So this point here will be -3, 9, and will now be a new minimum point. So we can again draw from this up, and again getting closer and closer to this asymptote, except with a more smooth curve. Expect you guys to do a little bit better because again you're not drawing on a computer, so you can probably manage a smoother curve than I can. But this is how you do part C.